Why do you write a literature review? Basically, what you're doing is joining the conversation. So academics and writing, research, the reason we write articles is to have a conversation within our field. Your paper needs to contribute to this conversation. That's the whole point. It's really crucial to get out of our heads the idea that writing is just for one person to read. You aren't writing just for your advisor. You should be writing for an entire audience, for an entire world, potential world of audience members, so of readers. This is review from the very beginning about audience. This will really help you kind of have more motivation to clarify your ideas. So you're joining this conversation, and the literature review helps you do that. In the literature review, you show what the conversation is. So basically give background, and you can organize it from old to new information if your purpose is to show the change and the development or evolution of that topic, or you're trying to show what information has been, what research has been done, what has already been discovered or concluded, what results have already been found, and what needs to still be found. You might be bringing new information. So maybe there's more recent research that has been conducted, maybe in the last year, and nobody has written about it yet. So you're going to introduce that in your literature review. Resolve conflicts. So there might be controversies or debates in your field, and you are trying to solve that problem. That's a really great way to use a literature review. It's a way that you can really contribute to the learning in your field. Okay, so you want to avoid repetition. So basically, you're writing the literature review to know what has already been done. You don't need to do research on what has already been done unless what you think what has been done is wrong, right? So if you think that the methods used by former researchers have been insufficient, then the point of your literature review is to show how that past research has been insufficient. So you're going to talk about their methods, what they did wrong, what they left out, what limitations there were to their research, and then your research is meant to do the same thing but correctly, right? So knowing what your purpose is really going to shape what your literature review is. I guess your literature review does not need to be all of these things. It's going to be one or some of these things, right? And you don't need to mention your purpose in the literature review. Your purpose is mentioned in the introduction, right? But what your purpose is for your whole paper will influence what you do in your literature review. For again, if your purpose of your paper is to do correctly research that has already been done, then the purpose of your literature review is to show how past research has been done incorrectly. If your purpose of your paper is to add information because do research that has never been done, you have to prove that it has never been done by talking about what has been done and showing that there's a hole in the research, right? So that's the purpose of the literature review. So you're going to prevent repetition of information, prevent repetition of research, which should make it clear why you are doing what you're doing in your research. Introduce recent studies. So again, maybe there's articles out there that nobody has written about, and you can be the first one to write about them and put them into the conversation with previous articles that are already well known. Locate your own work within existing literature. Again, you're not going to be saying explicitly in the literature review what you are doing, but it should be clear based on what you say in your introduction. It should be clear why you're talking about the sources in the way you are in your literature review. Elaborate on your theoretical framework. So you may have explained what your theoretical framework was in your introduction, and then in your literature review, you're going to use sources to defend why you're using that framework and examples from those sources. And then make it easy for others to do research. This is one of the main reasons there are literature reviews. It's very important in science and technology and engineering, especially because of the great changes that are happening right now. There are especially in these sciences and in STEM fields, there's so much research being done. So much that it's actually really hard to do research if you're looking for past articles. And literature reviews help other people and help you do research because you're looking for a topic and then there's tons of sources on that one topic just in that literature review, and you can use that literature review to help you with your research. So you want to see your literature review as a way to help others do research. So you're synthesizing all of these sources to talk about this one topic or this one problem, and you're helping other people find sources for their own work. So here's kind of a way to look at what kind of literature review you want to write. So you want to think about how much published research there has been and the amount of literature reviews there have been. So research versus literature reviews. If there has been little research and few literature reviews, then there is a great need for the identification of research questions. That means there's a need to come up with new research questions for your field. So maybe you should write a literature review or finding what is missing in the research, what kind of research needs to be done, what has been done, what little research has been done, and what research should be done in the future. And that will help people come up with questions for their own research and, keep your field moving forward. If there's been a lot of research but very few literature reviews, then there's a lot of need for literature reviews to synthesize the information in these articles that show the research data. So basically in these literature reviews, you're going to be analyzing data, synthesizing the results, and showing how there are contradictions or there are similarities in these. Okay. So maybe there's been a lot of literature reviews and there's been a lot of research. So there's a need for review of reviews. So that means the purpose of your literature review is going to be to look at former literature reviews and see if they are accurate still today. Maybe they're outdated and your point is to show how outdated they are. Maybe there's been very little research, but a lot of literature reviews. Then there's a need for a review pointing out the need for more research. So maybe your literature review can talk about what has been discussed and then what research needs to be done further. And maybe the point is that your paper, you are doing research, or maybe you're just writing a literature review. You're not doing research, but you're telling other people what kind of research they need to do. Okay, so you need to think about what kind of literature review you're going to be writing based on these questions. Whoop, too far. All right. Okay, what do literature reviews look like and where are they located in the paper? Sometimes your literature review is integrated within the introduction. So I'm going to show you an example of that right here. So in this paper, there is no separate literature review. There's the introduction, and then there's the materials and methods section. They just jump right there. So in this introduction, you can tell they're using a lot of citations. They're basically giving their background in the introduction, and they're using that background to show why they need to do their own research. Okay. All right. I'm not going to read that for you, but you can look at it further. If you pause the video, you can just read into this a little bit more so that you can see an example. Maybe you're in agriculture and resource economics. This can be really helpful for you. Otherwise, even if you're just in sciences, it's the same. You know, you can use this as a template. Okay. Existing as an individual section of a larger paper. So maybe you are writing a paper that needs its own literature review. So you see this paper has its own introduction. This is somebody's dissertation. They have an introduction with, you know, basic general information about the need, the background of the debate, the need for more research, more background. Then there's the statement of the problem. It's very organized. Transition to sustainability, barriers to adoption, and then they have the theoretical framework, what theories are important for them when they're thinking about putting these things into practice. There's more information for the introduction, all stuff that we've talked about. Purpose of study. This is excellent. Okay. And then there's the literature review. So this literature review is in different sections. So they have their idea-based. This is one main idea. And then they have different sources talking about that one idea. Second main idea, different sources talking about that second idea. Third idea, different sources talking about their third one. So they have it really clearly separated, really clearly organized. I like this. Climate change, food insecurity, these are all things that are important for their paper. And again, it's idea-based. It's not article by article. They're not listing the articles and summarizing them. They are using information from all of the articles and then showing how they all fit into this idea. So they're synthesizing the information based on how they all surround or discuss this one idea. Okay. Diagrams are always helpful. This is awesome. So this is actually like a mind map, right? And then they use the diagram to show how they're how all of these issues are related, and that's excellent. Okay, so that's an example of the literature review being a separate section of the paper, and then encompassing the entire paper. So maybe the entire paper is a literature review. That means that the person didn't do their own research. The person is analyzing previous research and maybe coming to new conclusions about that research. Or maybe they are figuring out how to solve a problem in a debate within the research. Or they're showing why more research needs to be done. Or they're showing what problems there are. Okay, so I want you to figure out what kind of literature review you are going to be doing and what yours should be. So this depends on norms in your field, requirements for the assignment, and the purpose of your paper.